Hi, it's Michelle here from Scrap-A-Lot. I'm here to show you today how to go from something like this to something like this. This is the Tim Holtz new configuration box. I've used two different paper pads on it. Now I apologize, I only have one of them here with me today. This is his craft paper stash and it's got glaze on it. So I've used that in a few of the boxes here. This top one with the blue, the red at the bottom with the light bulbs, the green over here. I used the distress stains on them to color them. And with this one and this one up top here, I used his inks and his blending tool as well as some of his Perfect Pearl mists to color them. Now for the insides of the boxes, his new paper pack at the back of it comes with all these really great squares, rectangles, and strips, and it shrinks a 12 by 12 paper right down into small little squares and strips, so you get perfect detail, which makes it great for these boxes because they fit perfectly in there and it gives you a really great effect. For the edges of the boxes, I actually used the stains. I didn't cover it in paper, I just used the stains. I just brought the stain to the surface of the dauber and used a paintbrush and dabbed my paintbrush onto the top of the dauber and then paintbrushed around the insides of the boxes. Now some of them I did use his tissue tape on the insides of the boxes. Now I use the stains on top of the tissue tape to further distress it. Some of the boxes also do have some of the stickers from his salvage sticker set. The sign that's up at the top here, I used his die and cut it out of chipboard. The top part of it, I used a metallic silver ink dauber, or paint dauber, my bad. Then I inked it with black ink. The base of it, I used a blue ink dauber on the surface of it. Then I stamped over it with his stamp. I used a screen and two different colors of his distress stains to give it the brick effect. And I just used a paper towel to kind of brush some of the stain off to make it more distressed. This part up here is a sticker, again from his salvage stickers. And then in the center here I put one of his pockets. The flowers, this one is made out of dress form, and this one here is made out of his new glassine paper. And the glassine paper, when you crumple it, it almost gives it this really cool leather effect like this. Now I used the Tim Holtz Tattered Flowers die to make both of them, and in the centers of them I put some of his metal flowers and just inked them, stained them with the alcohol inks. Okay. Now for the bottles actually come clear, and what I did is I put a little bit of the alcohol ink in the base of them just to give them some color and a distressed look. The label on it I actually made with the tissue tape. Now the tissue tape, the Journeyman one specifically, is actually worked out really, really well for this particular project because this had a lot of really great things on it for these little bottles that look really cool. I further distressed the tissue tape, again with the distress stains to make it look old and vintage. The poem that I have on here, as well as the gears up top here, are made out of the plastic packaging. So I just used part of the packaging that the dies come in, and I just cut it with the die. The gears die is here. And for the gears, I used my mat, and I put the alcohol inks, the metallic mixative, and the blending solution, and I stained them that way, and that's how I got this effect on the gears. This is just stays on ink cut out of the plastic packaging. The pocket watch actually comes empty, and the clock face comes in a package of 5. Now I dyed it with alcohol inks and put a couple of the game spinners on. I wasn't expecting it to happen, but it gave it a really, really cool effect. So the glass just kind of got cracked a little bit in the front. Looks really vintage and very cool. This keyhole here and the key down at the bottom, I use the hardware die, and I've used UT in gold and black to get this effect on here. Now with the dress form, I cut the dress form out in a couple of layers. This is the dress form die that I used. So the first layer that I cut it out of grunge board. And I stained it again with the distress stains. The second layer that I cut it out of the sticky back canvas. Now once the sticky back canvas was cut out, I just cut the dress portion of it out. And again, I used the distress stains to dye it and then stuck it down. I used a stamp over top of the whole thing, one of his older stamp sets. This little bodice piece on the dress form, I actually cut it out of the plastic packaging and used alcohol inks to dye it, poked some holes in it, and used some just embroidery floss to lace it up. This piece at the bottom here is just some really pretty Prima ribbon that I had. And the bird cage is actually up at the top here, is actually one of his new dies that's out. I cut it out of grunge board, used the stains to stain it, and then actually went over top of it with his gold, this isn't the gold, but the Perfect Pro Mists. And then I blotted it off with a paper towel because it had a lot of metallic on there and I wanted to just tone it down a bit, so I just blotted a bit of it up with the paper towel. Now I went over top of the bird cage with the rock candy stickles, the distress stickles. They create a really cool effect. It's kind of like stickles without the glitter, so it kind of gives it a bit of a shimmer, but it's more of a distressed look. We have time for today, so I hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.